Welcome to the show this week, guys. It's John from PvP, and this is indeed your info bite. And let me tell you, I hope you're ready for a lot of Cyberpunk news this week because CD Projekt Red has been, well, they have been on a comeback tour by the looks of things. But before we get into it, of course, let me thank you, the viewers who came over to us last week, checked out the actual show for the first time, give us a lot of great feedback, and hopefully, with this feedback, we can try and make the show even better every week. But anyway, guys, it's time to give you a breakdown of the most important news in gaming and entertainment, and hopefully under 15 minutes. Let's go. Well, the infamous game itself finally got its patch 1.2 this week, guys. That's right, CD Projekt Red released its biggest patch yet for its game, Cyberpunk 76. The original patch itself was slated sooner than what we got this week. However, as you know yourselves, there was a massive hacking incident that related to pretty much some of their major key files, such as the source code for Gwent, Witcher 3, and also Cyberpunk itself, which then actually ends up getting sold on the dark web later on for God knows how much, but what we understand, it was quite a high amount of money. The bids going up into their millions, but then being pulled off due to a private discussion or a private deal being made on the dark web itself. As we know, this patch was meant to then resolve a bunch of issues in relation to the optimization, and it kind of goes through a whole slew of things. A lot of the core patch notes go through the quests themselves, adding kind of like little bit of needed polish on specific quests, specific coding, specific interactions and instances with characters and sub-characters. On top of that, there we see a lot of additions being brought in for the likes of different graphics cards and engines and whatnot. I believe ray tracing as well is being added to the AMD slew of cards, and also, and the most important, if you ask me, a hell of a lot of polish put into the PS4 and Xbox One versions of the game, which suffered the absolute worst, and I mean the worst, sort of polish or production or bug fixes when it comes to the main games themselves. But hopefully now these players who still have the copies of the games, because remember, Sony did pull the game from its online store, hopefully these players now can actually play the game with a level of confidence and with a level of enjoyment that doesn't result in them losing save data files or infrequent or frequent crashing. But we'll see. On top of that, this is not the only stop or the only thing we're going to see when it comes to the actual patches, when it comes to Cyberpunk 76. As part of the roadmap, we still have the PS5 version as well as the Xbox Series X coming through, and it does beg the question, is there still people holding out for these actual versions? It's hard to say. For myself, I'm in kind of two minds about it. I personally might go bad on the PC at some point. I haven't played it yet, despite having a copy for the PS4 back there that's still in shrink wrap, funny enough. But on top of that, we still have the actual hot fixes to come out, and then there was also the report of, well, the online infrastructure, which has now been somewhat cancelled. It's hard to say, but in a recent strategy call laid out by CD Projekt Red, we've seen that they are talking about maybe canning the multiplayer altogether, which is meant to be its own GTA online style facet. But, you know, it's one of those ones where we're not really sure what's to come off of that there, and we could see them reintroduce that down the line. However, based on the strategy meeting this week, very unlikely. Begs the question, though, do you actually care about these optimizations when it comes to CD Projekt Red's failed game? I mean, we can call it a failed game, right? It didn't launch well, and, well, more controversy than anything, but is it something given the patch notes? Are you willing to give a second chance? Are you willing to boot it up again on your previous gen consoles? Are you willing to go out and buy it now if you hadn't bought it before because of the bad press? Or is it something where you already have the game itself and you are now willing to give it a look at after shelving it because of the poor results that you saw on day one? Let us know in the comment section down below, guys. That'd be much appreciated. And part 2 of the CD Projekt Red comeback tour is the most recent news as part of the strategy call. CD Projekt Red have bought over Digital Scapes, which is the Vancouver-based developer that helped with the creation and the development of Cyberpunk 76. The new developer is being called now CD Projekt Red Vancouver, and the idea behind this here is that they plan on doing a new SKU or a new development style within the actual CD Projekt Red studios. Off the back of the strategy meeting, CD Projekt Red mentioned that they're looking to try and develop a new Witcher game in the series, as well as more Cyberpunk as well. However, what they want to do now is they want to try and focus with multiple teams and having dedicated teams for each project instead of moving one major team over between one project and another to start working mass amounts of data, a massive amount of code for that actual game, depending on how far into the completion of the other game they are now. This basically means is that they're going to have a dedicated team for the Witcher series, a dedicated team for the Cyberpunk Studio series, as well as a smaller floating team that's going to be managed to help with those projects in between. So that way they're not having that one major team, as I mentioned before, doing all of the assets and code for one game. As the game then closes off and gets into the last maybe 10%, 15% of the development, moves developers over to the other project to start kickstarting it, we're going to see two studios with two very independent SKUs of work working full-time on both projects. This comes off the back of I've been calling somewhat of their comeback tour, and even in the strategy meeting themselves, they're looking to try and create some of that goodwill that they once had with their actual fans in order to establish faith back in the company, and that way provide the best quality games that previously they were known for. Despite what you may think about Cyberpunk 76, CD Projekt Red did have a fantastic track record and a goodwill amongst its fans, especially with how it handled the free updates as well as all of the DLC that you would get for the previous games before you had to spend a single penny on the likes of The Witcher on additional DLC. They were in good standing, but this then also begs the question is that with this renewed focus, renewed strategy, as well as maybe further content releases down the line from CD Projekt Red in relation to Cyberpunk 76, including the free DLC, is this enough to win back your trust in the developer? Or is this more of a case of too little too late and a little bit too corporate? Let us know in the comment section down below, guys. Speaking of corporate, guys, Sony are now going to be shutting down the PS3 as well as the PSP's PSN store this summer. Sony confirmed that by the 2nd of July, you're no longer going to be able to access or purchase any more new games off the PSN store for your PS3, and also by the August 27th date, the PSP store as well. Fear not though, those who may have purchased games on those platforms through the PSN stores in their respective consoles are still going to be able to download them and play them. That's right, if you have had some sort of purchases over the lifetime of the consoles, you can still get them at any time by using the download list on the respective device and re-download those games, as well as any DLCs or any movies as well, apparently, through that list section as well. So fear not, you're not locked out of content you once previously purchased. It's more a case of that you don't have access to the store to buy any new games, any new movies, or redeem any sort of voucher codes in relation to money for the PSN store. However, if you do randomly have a voucher code that gives you a CD key for a game, they do still work as well through the redeem code section. So a little bit of a weird mixed message there, but there's still some support. It's just we can't buy new items on these older consoles. Sony have made the claim that this is being done because they're looking to try and reinforce and restructure the PSN store in general, which makes sense given how the PSN store and also the PlayStation structure has been pretty much riddled from the conception of the PS3. Signs like just a simple name change were hard coded into save data, as you may have known, affected people's ability to change their name for the longest while on the platform. Their hope is that with closing of these stores, they can put a lot more focus and effort in the PS4 as well as the PS5 store to optimize how well they work and to provide new, more efficient and better features, which I personally can't feckin' wait for, because I don't know about yourselves, but using the PSN store on the PS4 sometimes was an absolute headache, and it's not much better on the PS5 sometimes as well, where we see stupidly slow download times, chuggy, laggy interfaces, and overall, sometimes an inconsistent service, which is kind of annoying given how big the infrastructure is at Sony and how much money they have and the amount of consoles they shipped during the lifetime of the PS4. But this begs the question, guys, when it comes to the PSP as well as the PS3, is this going to change anything for yourself? Do you still play these consoles? Do you still download those games? Are you going to feel like this is going to affect you much? Let us know down in the comment section down below. How often are you actually using these consoles and these digital games on these consoles? That's it for this week, guys, in relation to the info bite. I want to thank you all for sticking around and checking out the news with us. Of course, if you have any comments or any sort of questions, or if you think there's a news article that was more important that we may have missed this week, let us know in the comments section down below. We might even include it on the next week's episode as well. But if you have enjoyed the show, I want to encourage you to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button so that way you don't miss out on an info bite as it goes live. As well as that, myself and Cosmic Bacon can be seen every week on the Player vs. Player talk show over at twitch.tv/itspvg. Again, guys, all of our articles are down below if you want to reference the materials we reference for the show. But sadly, it's time for me to love yous and leave yous. And if I'm lucky, I'll see yous next week, guys. Have a good one. Peace.